Und jetzt kommen wir schon zum ersten Highlight. Ich weiß ja, warum Sie eigentlich jedes Jahr dabei sind. Nummer 1 ist Donna Leon, Nummer 2 ist Reto Kressig. Ich mache mir nichts vor. Und jetzt freue ich mich riesig auf den Vortrag, der uns immer den Takt gibt für diesen Anlass von Donna Leon. Sie bestimmt oder gibt uns immer das Thema vor und dieses Jahr war es Sinne und Sinnlichkeit. Und es ist natürlich eine große Ehre, dass Donna Leon nun seit 2017 die Botschafterrolle übernimmt von DO-HEALTH. Das ist für uns ein riesiges Plus in der Verbreitung dieser Botschaft, wie man gesund und aktiv älter werden kann. Und ich muss Ihnen Donna Leon nicht vorstellen, ihre Bücher, die jährlich erscheinen, werden in 30 Sprachen übersetzt. Sie ist ein Superstar der Literatur und für mich die lustigste und neugierigste und hochintelligente Donna Leon. Donna, may I ask you on stage and kick this meeting off?
I hate to upset anyone who works with aging medicine. As we get older, we don't get shorter. The benches get higher. Magic. I would like to begin with something that happened, telling you about this. It happened 2 weeks ago. I met a woman in a store or somewhere who came up to me and said, "Are you Donna Leon?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Oh, I want to thank you." I said, "What for?" She said, "My mother is in an Altersheim. She has more than the beginning of Alzheimer." And I didn't know why she was going to thank me for this, but she continued. And she said, "My mother has become famous in the Altersheim. She's not fully competent anymore, but she goes up to everyone in the place and she says, 'You have to walk. Donna Leon in DO-HEALTH says you have to walk.'" And I was so touched by this because I thought, well, finally, in a dark world, I've done a light thing by doing this. And I was really very proud of that. So remember, you have to walk. For some time, I've been reading about the senses and what humans think of them or have thought of them in the past. Most cultures have saturated themselves in joyful celebration of sensual experience and its rewards. Buildings, decoration, music, feasts, love, burning incense to the gods. Humans fell in love with color, with harmony, with flowers, with pizza, with making love, with running races, with babies, all of which, the awareness of which is given to us by our senses. Once we realized that the senses were the way we made contact with the world around us, we created a system for valuing them. Sight and hearing invariably hold the top 2 positions, perhaps because they warn us of things that are far away. When people, probably after they've taken a few drinks, ask that old question, what would be worse, being blind or deaf? They are merely confirming the primary ranking of these 2 senses, sight and hearing. The other 3, smell, touch, and taste, require the user to be closer to the subject that he or she is examining. Given what delight the senses provide us, the fact that the Greeks and the Romans saw them as gods and goddesses comes as no surprise. Helios is the god of light and vision, and Echo is the god of sound. But something went terribly wrong, because with the passage of centuries and a vast change in cultural values, the old gods were swept away, their temples destroyed, and the once godlike senses were cast into disfavor and became little more than the occasion of sin. No more Helios riding his golden chariot to bring in the light of day. Instead, one of the major European religions invented a ceremony in which a dying person was told, "May the Lord God forgive all the evil you did through the power of sight." Forgiveness was also begged for the evil done through the power of hearing, the sense of smell and taste, as well as through the sense of touch. In short, the dying person was reminded that every sensory experience in her life had somehow been sinful. I'm an imaginative person, but I find it very difficult to think of a way evil could be done by the sense of smell. That's a hard one to understand. The age of Puritanism, with a small or a capital letter, is gone, and the senses have been restored to the good opinion of society. During the rise and fall and restoration of the senses, one part of human society remained faithful to the importance and benefits of the senses, not so much as a source of pleasure, than as a source of information. This was the world of medicine. For doctors well knew the vital importance of their senses to their work. Until the 19th century, a doctor's chief diagnostic tools were his senses, or he could see or hear or touch his patient. In bad cases, he could also smell them. He could smell infection, he could taste their sweat or their urine. A doctor he's a 3rd century Indian Hindu physician, Charaka, recorded that his patient's urine tasted sweet and that ants were attracted to mahemeha, or urine of honey. Diabetics' excess glucose is excreted through their urine. The doctor was, however, like an engineer called to examine a building that is showing strange signs, cracks in the walls, a leaking roof, strange noises coming from the cellar, after which it seemed to settle more deeply into the foundation. The engineer arrives, only to discover that a large wooden fence has been built around the building so that he can do no more than walk around the fence, peek through a hole, and see that, yes, there are what look like cracks. He can hear the noise, but until he can get inside, he can't learn where the noise is coming from or what it means. His senses do not have access to the building behind the fence. It's there, he can see it and knows that something is wrong with it, but a wall's in the way. In 1816, a French doctor with the deliriously irresistible name of René Théophile Hyacinthe Laennec, recalling a game children played to transmit sound, rolled a sheet of paper into a tube, put it to his ear and against the heart of his patient, and voila, we had the stethoscope. He could hear the heart much better than when he placed his ear upon the patient's chest. 100 years later, after agreement was made that water freezes at 0 and boils at what would be called 100 centigrade, the mercury thermometer knocked down a bit more of the wall around the building. And in 1895, the X-ray machine knocked down the rest of it and allowed doctors free entry to the secrets of the body. Oh my God, would you look at his lungs? No, sir, your liver looks fine. They could see inside. Until that moment, the only time a doctor saw the inside of a human body was during the dissection of a cadaver, and bodies were not easy to find. In the 19th century, England and Scotland, the only bodies that could be used for medical dissection were suicides, prisoners, and orphans. And those few available in London were sold to Dr. Knox for £7.10 for use in his anatomy lessons. William Burke and William Hare were murderers who sometimes killed in order to sell corpses to anatomists. Before being discovered and arrested, they murdered 16 people, all of whose bodies were dissected by Dr. Knox, who claimed he'd had no idea of where the bodies could possibly have come from, although at least one of them had been warm when it was brought to him. Burke and Hare were arrested, and Burke was hanged and dissected. As is the case with scientific change, each discovery or invention led to more, and all of us here are the direct beneficiaries of the genius and imagination of René Théophile Hyacinthe Laennec, isn't it beautiful, who picked up that piece of paper and used it as a stethoscope. The doctors who treat us today obviously have far more sophisticated tools that help them discover the secrets lying behind the no entry sign on the fence that once surrounded our bodies. The tools they use to look inside are far more accurate than that rolled up piece of paper. But the processes used to detect the symptoms of disease or injury are still doing what the earliest doctors did: looking, listening, touching, measuring, and using their senses to detect illness and begin the process of healing. That's all.
Dear Donna, thank you very much. And I saw that your eyes were lighting up, connecting medicine with murder. And I would also, so you have to come back up, you get a present, not your own book, but also the flower house. So getting on shoes will be fun this Christmas. And I know you love chocolate, so this is all it takes to start into the Christmas season early.
Is there a doctor in the house?
Donna, thank you so much. Big applause.